Introduction. Burn Book. The tech industry, with its dizzying pace of innovation and boundless ambition, is often viewed as a world of visionaries building the future. But beneath the surface lies a more complicated story, a tale of rivalries, betrayals, and deeply personal conflicts that have shaped the technology we use every day. In Burn Book, a tech love story, Kara Swisher pulls back the curtain on Silicon Valley, revealing the human drama behind the algorithms and devices that dominate modern life. This is not a traditional account of technological progress. Instead, Swisher's narrative focuses on the relationships and rivalries that define the tech world, from the intense partnerships that birthed billion-dollar empires to the bitter feuds that fractured them. It is a story of power, ego, and the complex dynamics of working at the cutting edge of innovation. At its heart, Burn Book explores how personal relationships influence professional decisions, for better or worse. Through incisive storytelling, Swisher examines the ways in which friendship, loyalty, and competition have driven some of the most consequential developments in the tech industry. She highlights the blurred lines between personal and professional lives in a space where work is often life and founders are as much mythmakers as they are entrepreneurs. But this is also a story of change. As tech leaders grapple with the immense power their creations wield, the industry faces mounting scrutiny from governments, the public, and even its own workforce. Swisher's narrative captures this moment of reckoning, showing how personal accountability and industry-wide introspection are reshaping the way Silicon Valley operates. What happens when the innovators shaping the future are as flawed and human as the rest of us? Can an industry built on disruption survive its own internal conflicts and external pressures? These are the questions Swisher poses as she unpacks the human side of technology. In doing so, Burn Book offers a fascinating glimpse into the lives of the people behind the pixels and prompts us to consider the true cost of progress. This book is not just about technology. It's about the people who create it, the relationships that sustain it, and the conflicts that define it. As we delve into this tech love story, we'll uncover the passion, ambition, and drama that makes Silicon Valley both a hub of innovation and a stage for some of the most compelling stories of our time. Chapter 1. Foundations of a Revolution. The story of Silicon Valley is one of visionaries and dreamers who sought to redefine the world. But while the region's narrative often focuses on technological breakthroughs, its foundation rests just as firmly on relationships, chance encounters, and shared ambitions. In Burn Book, a tech love story, Kara Swisher begins by unpacking how the intertwined lives of early pioneers shaped the valley's ethos and culture. A community of innovators, the seeds of Silicon Valley were planted long before it became a global hub for technology. The region's transformation began with institutions like Stanford University, which cultivated a culture of experimentation and collaboration. Leaders like Frederick Terman, often referred to as the father of Silicon Valley, encouraged students and faculty to commercialize their ideas, fostering a unique intersection of academia and entrepreneurship. These early innovators created a tightly knit community. Founders, engineers, and investors shared ideas in local cafes and informal meetups, forming bonds that transcended individual projects. Collaboration and competition were inextricably linked, driving innovation while also laying the groundwork for the rivalries that would later define the tech world. Early successes and rivalries. Swisher highlights key moments in Silicon Valley's early history to illustrate how relationships both propelled and hindered progress. One pivotal example is the rivalry between Hewlett-Packard and Fairchild Semiconductor. While HP focused on creating precision instruments, Fairchild became a breeding ground for semiconductor innovation. The eventual exodus of Fairchild employees to form startups like Intel exemplified the Fairchild effect, where collaboration within one company gave rise to fierce competition as individuals branched out to pursue their own visions. These early successes established two recurring themes in Silicon Valley's story: the centrality of personal relationships and the inevitability of conflict. Founders often transitioned from collaborators to competitors, driven by diverging goals or clashing egos. Swisher emphasizes that while these rivalries fueled technological progress, they also introduced tensions that would ripple through the valley for decades. The birth of venture capital. Another key development during this formative period was the emergence of venture capital as a driving force. Investors like Arthur Rock and firms such as Sequoia Capital and Kleiner Perkins became instrumental in turning ideas into reality. However, these relationships were rarely simple. The dynamic between founders and investors often oscillated between mentorship and power struggle, with financial backing sometimes coming at the cost of autonomy. Swisher delves into how these early partnerships shaped not only companies but also the broader culture of Silicon Valley. Venture capitalists weren't just financiers, they were gatekeepers and influencers who played a decisive role in determining which ideas gained traction. This dynamic fostered both innovation and dependency, creating a system where personal networks were as valuable as technological prowess. Culture takes root. The ethos of Silicon Valley, meritocracy, disruption, and risk-taking, emerged during this foundational era. Yet, Swisher argues, these values were often more myth than reality. Meritocracy frequently masked the importance of connections, while the celebration of risk-taking overlooked the safety nets afforded to well-connected individuals. The notion of disruption, while revolutionary in theory, sometimes justified aggressive tactics and ethical compromises. Through these early stories, Swisher lays bare the contradictions that continue to shape Silicon Valley. The region's culture of innovation and ambition has always been intertwined with personal dynamics, friendships, rivalries, and alliances that determine not just who succeeded, but how success was defined. A legacy of complexity. The early years of Silicon Valley set the stage for everything that would follow. The successes, conflicts, and collaborations of its pioneers created a template for the modern tech industry, where personal relationships remain just as influential as technical expertise. Swisher's exploration of this period reveals that the foundations of Silicon Valley were never purely about technology. They were about people, their dreams, their ambitions, and their flaws. As the story unfolds, Burnbook continues to examine how these foundational dynamics evolved, shaping not only the valley's triumphs but also its growing pains. The relationships that built Silicon Valley were its greatest strength and its greatest vulnerability. Chapter 2. Rivalries that defined an era. Silicon Valley's meteoric rise was not only fueled by innovation but also shaped by its rivalries. These intense competitions often blurred the line between professional ambition and personal animosity, creating a landscape where collaboration could turn into conflict at the drop of a hat. In Burnbook, a tech love story, Kara Swisher delves into the rivalries that defined the tech world, exploring how they spurred progress while leaving behind fractured relationships and bitter legacies. Microsoft versus Apple, the clash of titans. One of the most iconic rivalries in tech history is the battle between Microsoft and Apple. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, the respective leaders of these companies, represented starkly different visions of the future. Gates, with his pragmatic and business-driven approach, sought to make computing accessible to all through software dominance. Jobs, the visionary artist, focused on creating beautifully designed, user-friendly hardware that inspired loyalty and admiration. Swisher highlights how their interactions oscillated between mutual respect and outright hostility. Gates and Jobs worked together briefly in Apple's early days, but their paths diverged as Microsoft's Windows operating system gained global dominance. Jobs famously accused Gates of copying Apple's ideas, leading to one of the most publicized feuds in tech history. Yet, despite their conflicts, the rivalry pushed both companies to innovate relentlessly, driving the personal computer revolution that changed the world. Oracle versus Salesforce, the battle of the CEOs. Another rivalry that left an indelible mark on Silicon Valley was the feud between Larry Ellison of Oracle and Mark Benioff of Salesforce. Once mentor and protege, their relationship soured as Benioff left Oracle to found Salesforce, championing a cloud-based approach to software delivery that directly challenged Oracle's traditional business model. Ellison, known for his aggressive and combative style, publicly criticized Salesforce's approach, while Benioff leveraged his company's rising success to portray Salesforce as the vanguard of the new tech era. This rivalry not only highlighted generational shifts in technology but also underscored the personal dynamics that often drive business decisions. Swisher examines how their feud reflected deeper questions about innovation, legacy, and the willingness to adapt. Facebook versus Google, the battle for attention. In the age of social media and digital advertising, the rivalry between Facebook and Google emerged as a defining conflict. While the two companies initially operated in different spheres, their competition intensified as both sought to dominate online advertising and user engagement. Swisher explores how this rivalry shaped the development of key technologies, from Facebook's news feed algorithm to Google's advancements in search and video through YouTube. The competition extended to acquisitions, with both companies vying for startups that could bolster their dominance. However, this rivalry also exposed ethical concerns, including data privacy issues and the societal impact of their platforms. The personal toll of rivalries. While these rivalries fueled technological progress, they also came at a personal cost. Founders and executives often found themselves isolated, consumed by the pressure to outdo their competitors. The intense focus on winning sometimes led to ethical compromises, strained relationships, and even burnout. Swisher highlights the human side of these conflicts, showing how the drive for success can erode personal connections and create an environment of mistrust. She argues that while rivalries are an inherent part of innovation, their impact on individuals and teams should not be overlooked. Rivalries as catalysts. Despite their costs, rivalries have served as powerful catalysts for change. The competition between Microsoft and Apple, Oracle and Salesforce, and Facebook and Google drove some of the most significant advancements in technology. These conflicts pushed companies to innovate faster, think bigger, and redefine what was possible. Yet, Swisher cautions that the culture of rivalry in Silicon Valley can also perpetuate cycles of conflict and division. As the tech industry matures, she suggests that collaboration and shared accountability may offer a more sustainable path forward, balancing competition with a need for collective progress. A defining feature. The rivalries that define Silicon Valley are more than stories of business competition. They are reflections of human ambition, ego, and the complexities of relationships in high-stakes environments. Through these conflicts, Burnbook reveals the dual nature of rivalry, a force that drives innovation while testing the limits of personal and professional bonds. As the narrative unfolds, the lessons from these rivalries continue to shape the tech industry's present and future. Chapter 3: Partnerships and Power Dynamics. While rivalries often take center stage in Silicon Valley's lore, partnerships are equally pivotal in shaping the tech industry. These alliances, forged in the crucible of shared ambitions and mutual necessity, have propelled innovation while also revealing the fragile balance of power and trust that underpins them. Kara Swisher examines how partnerships have defined some of the most influential moments in tech history and how their complexities have shaped the broader ecosystem. The power of collaboration. The early days of Silicon Valley were characterized by a spirit of collaboration. Partnerships between engineers, investors, and entrepreneurs created a foundation for collective success. Hewlett-Packard, one of the Valley's first major success stories, exemplified this ethos. Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard built their company on a partnership of mutual respect and shared vision, setting a template for collaboration that would inspire generations. Swisher explores how this collaborative spirit was central to the Valley's identity. The exchange of ideas, resources, and expertise often transcended company boundaries, fostering an environment where collective innovation thrived. Yet, as the stakes grew higher, the dynamics of partnerships became more fraught, revealing the tensions inherent in balancing individual ambition with shared goals. Jobs and Ive. Creativity meets design. One of the most celebrated partnerships in tech history is the collaboration between Steve Jobs and Johnny Ive at Apple. Together, they revolutionized consumer technology, creating iconic products like the iMac, iPod, and iPhone. Jobs' vision for seamless integration of hardware and software found its perfect complement in Ive's obsession with minimalist design and user experience. Swisher highlights how their partnership was both a source of creative synergy and a study in contrasting personalities. Jobs' relentless intensity pushed Ive to innovate, while Ive's meticulous approach grounded Jobs' ambitions in reality. This dynamic, while productive, also exposed the vulnerabilities of such partnerships. The immense pressure to deliver groundbreaking products strained their relationship, underscoring the fine line between collaboration and conflict. Google's triumvirate. Balancing leadership. Another fascinating example is the partnership of Google's founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, with Eric Schmidt. Recognizing their need for experienced leadership, Page and Brin brought Schmidt on board as CEO, creating a triumvirate that guided Google through its formative years. Swisher delves into the challenges and successes of this arrangement. While Schmidt provided the operational expertise to scale the company, Page and Brin retained control over its strategic direction, resulting in a delicate balance of power. This partnership enabled Google's meteoric rise but also revealed the difficulties of maintaining harmony in a leadership team with diverging priorities. The fragility of alliances. For every successful partnership, there are examples of alliances that unraveled under the weight of ambition and ego. Swisher examines cases where collaboration gave way to conflict, often with dramatic consequences. The split between PayPal co-founders Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, for instance, highlighted how differing visions for a company's future can fracture even the most promising alliances. These stories underscore the fragility of partnerships in high-stakes environments. While collaboration is essential for success, it requires constant negotiation and compromise, particularly as individual goals and company needs evolve over time. The role of trust and power. Swisher emphasizes that trust is the cornerstone of any successful partnership. Yet, in an industry defined by rapid growth and cutthroat competition, maintaining trust can be a formidable challenge. The imbalance of power, whether real or perceived, often exacerbates tensions, leading to breakdowns in communication and alignment. The dynamics of trust and power are not limited to co-founders and executives. Partnerships between companies, such as the collaboration between Microsoft and IBM in the early days of personal computing, reveal similar challenges. While their alliance initially benefited both parties, conflicting interests eventually led to its dissolution, reshaping the tech landscape in the process. Partnerships as a double-edged sword. The partnerships that define Silicon Valley are both its greatest strength and its greatest vulnerability. They enable innovation by pooling resources, expertise, and vision, but they also expose the human complexities that can undermine progress. Swisher's exploration of these alliances reveals that partnerships are not just about shared success, they are about navigating the tensions and challenges that come with working toward a common goal. As the narrative of Burn Book unfolds, the lessons from these partnerships provide valuable insights into the dynamics of collaboration and the intricate balance of trust, power, and ambition. They remind us that while no one succeeds alone, the path to collective success is rarely straightforward. Chapter 4. The Human Cost of Innovation. The pursuit of technological progress often comes with a significant human toll. While Silicon Valley is celebrated for its groundbreaking achievements, the relentless drive to innovate has exacted a heavy price on the individuals and communities involved. The myth of the visionary founder. Silicon Valley has long idolized the figure of the visionary founder, an individual who sacrifices everything in the name of innovation. Figures like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Travis Kalanick have been both celebrated and criticized for their intense dedication to their companies. However, Swisher argues that this myth often masks the personal struggles and interpersonal conflicts that come with such singular focus. The demand for constant growth and success places immense pressure on founders, leading to burnout, strained relationships, and even public meltdowns. Swisher highlights stories of entrepreneurs who faced mental health challenges, personal isolation, and ethical crossroads as they navigated the demands of building and scaling their companies. The exploitation of workers. The culture of long hours and high expectations extends beyond founders to employees, many of whom are expected to devote their lives to their work. Swisher examines how the promise of equity and the allure of working for the next big thing have often been used to justify exploitative practices, particularly in the early stages of startups. From underpaid gig workers to engineers sleeping under their desks, the labor that powers Silicon Valley is often invisible in its narratives of success. Swisher also addresses the inequalities within the industry, highlighting how women, people of color, and other marginalized groups face additional barriers and burdens in an already demanding environment. Communities on the margins. The impact of Silicon Valley's growth extends far beyond its offices. Swisher explores how the rapid expansion of the tech industry has reshaped local communities, driving up housing costs, displacing residents, and exacerbating economic inequality. Cities like San Francisco have become battlegrounds for debates about gentrification, homelessness, and the social responsibilities of tech companies. Swisher points out that while some companies have made efforts to address these issues, such initiatives often fall short of meaningful change. The tension between Silicon Valley's wealth and the struggles of its surrounding communities serves as a stark reminder of the broader societal costs of unchecked growth. Ethical dilemmas in innovation. Innovation often comes with ethical challenges, and the tech industry is no exception. Swisher delves into the moral questions that arise when companies prioritize disruption over accountability. From data privacy breaches to the unintended consequences of AI, the race to innovate has sometimes led to harm that could have been avoided with greater foresight and responsibility. Swisher highlights the role of whistleblowers, activists, and journalists in holding tech companies accountable. She also explores how internal dissent, such as employee walkouts and open letters, has become a powerful force for change, pushing companies to confront their ethical blind spots. The search for balance. Despite the pressures and sacrifices, many in Silicon Valley are beginning to advocate for a more sustainable approach to innovation. Swisher highlights efforts to prioritize mental health, diversity, and ethical decision-making within the industry. These initiatives represent a growing recognition that the human cost of progress cannot be ignored. However, achieving meaningful change requires a cultural shift that challenges Silicon Valley's deeply ingrained values of hustle and disruption. Swisher argues that the industry must move beyond superficial fixes to address the systemic issues that have contributed to its human toll. Innovation with humanity. The human cost of innovation is not a new story, but in Silicon Valley, it has taken on unique dimensions. The industry's relentless pursuit of progress has created incredible opportunities while also exposing deep flaws in its culture and priorities. Swisher's exploration of this tension reveals that innovation and humanity need not be mutually exclusive, but achieving balance requires intentionality and accountability. As Burn Book continues, the narrative shifts to examine how these human costs influence the broader dynamics of power, trust, and responsibility within the tech world. The lessons from this chapter challenge us to rethink what it means to innovate responsibly and to consider the true price of progress. Chapter 5. Ethics in the Age of Disruption. The tech industry thrives on disruption, a term that has become synonymous with innovation. Yet, as Silicon Valley continues to redefine industries, the ethical implications of this disruption remain a contentious issue. The promise and perils of disruption. Disruption, by its nature, challenges the status quo. In Silicon Valley, this ethos has driven breakthroughs in transportation, communication, and healthcare. Companies like Uber, Airbnb, and Tesla have reimagined their respective industries, offering convenience and efficiency on an unprecedented scale. Yet, these successes have often come at a cost. Swisher delves into how disruption has displaced traditional industries, leaving workers and communities grappling with the fallout. Taxi drivers, hotel employees, and manufacturing workers have found their livelihoods threatened by the rise of tech giants. While proponents argue that disruption drives progress, critics contend that its human and social costs are too often overlooked. Data privacy and surveillance. One of the most significant ethical challenges facing the tech industry is the issue of data privacy. Swisher explores how companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon have amassed unprecedented amounts of personal data, raising concerns about surveillance, consent, and security. The Cambridge Analytica scandal, in which Facebook data was used to influence political campaigns, serves as a stark example of how data can be weaponized. Swisher argues that such incidents reveal a troubling lack of accountability in the tech industry, where the drive for growth and profit often takes precedence over protecting users. Artificial intelligence and bias. As artificial intelligence becomes increasingly integrated into everyday life, its ethical implications have come under scrutiny. Swisher highlights how algorithms, often designed without sufficient oversight, can perpetuate and amplify societal biases. From discriminatory hiring practices to biased law enforcement tools, AI has raised questions about fairness, transparency, and responsibility. Swisher also examines the ethical dilemmas posed by autonomous systems, such as self-driving cars and drones. These technologies challenge traditional notions of accountability, raising questions about who is responsible when machines make decisions that have life-altering consequences. The role of whistleblowers. In recent years, whistleblowers have emerged as critical voices in holding tech companies accountable. Figures like Frances Haugen, who exposed Facebook's internal practices, have shed light on the ethical shortcomings of some of the world's most powerful companies. Swisher explores how whistleblowers navigate the risks of speaking out, often facing legal battles, personal attacks, and career setbacks. Despite these challenges, their actions have sparked important conversations about corporate responsibility and the need for systemic change. Employee activism and ethical pushback. Within Silicon Valley, employees themselves have become a force for ethical accountability. Swisher highlights examples of worker-led movements, such as Google employees protesting contracts with the Pentagon and Amazon workers advocating for climate action. These acts of dissent reflect a growing recognition among tech workers that they have a role to play in shaping the values of their industry. Swisher argues that such activism represents a shift in Silicon Valley's culture, challenging the long-held belief that profit and innovation should always come first. Toward a more ethical future. As the tech industry continues to evolve, Swisher contends that ethics must become a central consideration in its decision-making processes. She calls for stronger regulations, greater transparency, and a commitment to putting people over profit. Companies that embrace these values, she argues, will be better positioned to navigate the challenges of the future. However, Swisher also acknowledges that achieving this balance will not be easy. The culture of disruption that has defined Silicon Valley is deeply ingrained, and meaningful change will require a collective effort from companies, governments, and individuals alike. Disruption with accountability. The ethical dilemmas explored in this chapter highlight the complexities of innovation in the modern age. While disruption has the power to transform lives for the better, it also carries significant risks that must be carefully managed. Swisher's insights challenge readers to consider how the tech industry can pursue progress without compromising its moral responsibilities. As Burn Book approaches its conclusion, the narrative turns to the broader implications of Silicon Valley's influence, asking what lessons can be drawn from its triumphs and its failures. The path forward, Swisher suggests, will depend on whether the industry can balance its drive for disruption with a commitment to ethical principles. Chapter 6. Redefining Success. As Silicon Valley evolves, it faces a critical question. How should success be defined in an industry that prides itself on disruption and progress? In Burn Book, a tech love story, Kara Swisher explores how the tech world's definition of success is shifting from metrics of growth and valuation to more nuanced considerations of impact, responsibility, and legacy. The shift from scale to substance. For much of its history, Silicon Valley equated success with scale. The move fast and break things mantra celebrated rapid growth and market dominance, often at the expense of long-term sustainability and ethical considerations. However, Swisher argues that this mindset is increasingly being questioned as the consequences of unchecked growth become more apparent. The collapse of high-profile startups and the backlash against monopolistic practices have forced the industry to rethink its priorities. Investors, employees, and consumers are demanding more than just profits. They are seeking companies that create meaningful, lasting value. This shift signals a growing recognition that true success lies not only in innovation but also in responsibility. The rise of social impact. In recent years, social impact has emerged as a key metric for evaluating success in the tech industry. Swisher highlights examples of companies leveraging technology to address pressing global challenges, from climate change to healthcare accessibility. Initiatives that prioritize sustainability, equity, and community engagement are gaining traction, offering a counterpoint to the profit-driven ethos that has long dominated Silicon Valley. However, integrating social impact into business models remains a challenge. Swisher examines the tensions between purpose and profitability, emphasizing the need for companies to balance their commitments to stakeholders and shareholders. She argues that the most successful organizations will be those that align their missions with their actions, demonstrating that innovation can serve both society and the bottom line. Redefining leadership. The evolution of Silicon Valley's values is also reshaping its leadership. Traditional archetypes of tech leaders, charismatic, risk-taking, and often controversial, are giving way to a new generation of executives who prioritize collaboration, empathy, and transparency. Swisher explores how these leaders are redefining what it means to lead in a complex and interconnected world. From fostering diverse and inclusive workplaces to championing ethical decision-making, this new wave of leadership reflects a broader shift in Silicon Valley's culture. Swisher argues that the leaders who embrace these qualities will be better equipped to navigate the challenges of the future and build companies that endure. The role of accountability. Accountability has become a central theme in the redefinition of success. Swisher examines how external pressures, from regulatory scrutiny to public advocacy, are holding tech companies to higher standards. Transparency in data practices, equitable treatment of workers, and ethical use of AI are no longer optional. They are prerequisites for maintaining trust and relevance. Swisher also highlights the role of internal accountability, as employees demand greater alignment between their company's values and actions. Worker-led initiatives to address issues like harassment, discrimination, and environmental impact reflect a growing expectation that companies must practice what they preach. A broader definition of success. The redefinition of success in Silicon Valley is not just about metrics and goals, it is about a cultural shift toward more holistic and inclusive values. Swisher argues that this evolution is essential for the industry to maintain its influence and relevance in a rapidly changing world. By embracing a broader definition of success, Silicon Valley has the potential to lead not only in innovation but also in shaping a more equitable and sustainable future. Looking forward, as the tech industry continues to grapple with its past and chart its future, the stories in Burn Book offer a blueprint for change. Swisher's exploration of Silicon Valley's successes and failures reminds us that progress is not measured solely by technological advancements, but by the impact those advancements have on people and society. The redefinition of success is an ongoing process, one that requires courage, reflection, and a willingness to challenge deeply ingrained norms. Swisher leaves readers with a hopeful yet cautious vision of what Silicon Valley can achieve when it aligns its ambitions with its responsibilities. In the end, the greatest innovations may be those that prioritize humanity over hype. Conclusion. Silicon Valley's human side. Silicon Valley has long been celebrated as a hub of innovation, a place where visionary thinkers and groundbreaking technologies redefine the world. Yet, as Burn Book, a tech love story reveals, the story of this region is far more complex. Behind the algorithms and apps lies a narrative of ambition, rivalry, sacrifice, and ethical quandaries, a human story that shapes and is shaped by the technologies we use every day. Lessons from the Valley. The narrative of Silicon Valley offers invaluable lessons about the interplay of innovation, ethics, and relationships. From the collaboration that builds empires to the rivalries that drive progress, the region's successes and failures highlight the importance of balancing ambition with accountability. Kara Swisher's exploration reminds us that while technology evolves rapidly, the human dynamics behind it remain constant in their complexity. One key takeaway is the importance of ethics in innovation. As the industry continues to grapple with issues of data privacy, inclusivity, and corporate responsibility, it becomes increasingly clear that progress cannot come at the expense of humanity. Silicon Valley's leaders must confront the consequences of their actions, ensuring that their creations serve the greater good rather than perpetuate harm. The price of progress. Swisher also underscores the human cost of Silicon Valley's relentless pursuit of disruption. Founders and employees alike face immense pressure, sacrificing personal well-being and relationships in the name of progress. Local communities bear the brunt of economic inequality and displacement, while users worldwide contend with the ethical implications of the technologies they rely on. These challenges serve as a reminder that innovation is never neutral. Every decision made in a boardroom, every line of code written, carries consequences that ripple through society. Acknowledging and addressing these impacts is essential for building a tech industry that is not only innovative but also equitable and sustainable. The future of Silicon Valley. As the tech industry moves forward, it faces a pivotal moment. The values that have defined Silicon Valley for decades, disruption, speed, and competition, must evolve to meet the demands of a changing world. The future will depend on the industry's ability to embrace collaboration, prioritize ethical considerations, and acknowledge its responsibility to the people it serves. Swisher's account leaves us with a question: can Silicon Valley reconcile its drive for innovation with the need for accountability? The answer will shape not only the future of technology but also the world it continues to influence. A love story with lessons. In the end, Burn Book is not just a critique of Silicon Valley but a proof of its potential. The human dramas that play out in the tech world, its rivalries, partnerships, and ethical dilemmas, reflect the complexity of innovation itself. Swisher invites us to engage with these stories, to celebrate the achievements while learning from the failures, and to imagine a future where technology and humanity move forward together. The story of Silicon Valley is still being written. Its legacy will depend on whether it can harness its immense power to create a more inclusive, ethical, and connected world. As we turn off the screen and step back into reality, Burn Book leaves us with one enduring truth: the real innovation lies in our ability to remain human amid the machines.